this video, we will see how we can create sheets in Revit using the various views that we created in the previous lessons. And we're going to see how we can make it fit, how we can create a layout, adjusting the scale of the various 2D drawings and the size of the schedules or digital views. And also we can insert images and 3D models as well. Well, actually 3D views of the 3D models that we developed. And we can also customize the sheets using the family, which is related. So we're gonna start from the previous lesson, finish the part concerning the animation, and then continue and see how we can basically finish our work here by either creating sheets or exporting in other software to continue our work in 3D, in animation, or in printing and plotting and so on. Now, in the previous video, we saw how we can create nice 3D views using realistic settings. Well, this is not an actual rendering. To do a high quality rendering, we should have the complete version of Revit, so not the light version. But we saw that in the light version, we can still get into the render in cloud service using credits to create our renders. And we can create about 100 renders, and then if we want, we can buy more credit. Now think about animation. Animation takes a lot of effort from the computer, and it has to render a lot of images, not just one like this, but it has to render like 100 images just for 4 seconds of animation if you use the frame per seconds value at 25 FPS. Now all these notions, all this information are gonna be pretty easy for those of you who already work in video editing or video effects, but for others it could be a little bit more difficult to understand. Now this was the animation that we created in the previous video, and so to change the parameters of the animation, we need to click on the border here and go to Edit Walkthrough, and here is where we can set, by clicking on this little field here, we can set the total frames. Now 600 frames at 25 frames per second are about 24 seconds. Now if I set this to 250, 25 per second, these are gonna be only 10 seconds. So you need to render 250 frames to have just 10 seconds of animation. This is giving the idea of how the animation is engaging and pretty, let's say, heavy for your computer. Now, of course, if we decrease the frames, we're also gonna increase the speed, so everything's gonna be perhaps too fast. So you always need to try to balance everything. Now, in my opinion, the realistic look of the animation, it's pretty good if you want to do some really basic animation here. It doesn't look too bad. Well, it's not an actual rendering, it's just a preview, but it looks nice. Remember to activate shadows and ambient occlusion, and it will look pretty good for, well, depending on what you need to do. Now in this folder here, I've saved a couple of animations. So this is black and white, this is with realistic, and I believe that also black and white, they will be fine if you want to explain, for example, various parts, walkthroughs in your project. Now if you do if you don't insert like 25 per second, it's gonna go like that. It's gonna be like really slow and not fluid. So this is why you need 25 frames per second at least. But also this is going slow for another reason that I will try to explain again. These are concepts that you will find in video editing. So you can see here the animation of the spiral stair is pretty nice, so you can do really interesting things with this. And this is the same one, but in realistic view. There you go. So you can see, well, it's not the best animation out there in terms of quality, but it's pretty good. It's showing you how the building is basically, so this is what you want to do. Now if I right click and go to properties, you can see here, well, this is in Italian, but this is the data that you want to see. Well, it's pretty heavy because this animation is not compressed. You can compress the animation when you export it from Revit, in the moment that it's gonna ask you if you want to export in AVI video or other formats, and then it's gonna ask you if you want to compress it or not. So this is not compressed, which means that it's pretty heavy. So you need to work this in a video editing software and compress it, because it's too much for just like 20 seconds of animation or 10 seconds. This is too much. You need to compress it down to something much lower. And so this is why also it's going a little bit slow, because it's too heavy to handle for the graphic card of your computer. Now the other option is to render frames. So in this case you can see that I don't have a single video, but I have a sequence of images that if I move down, it's gonna show me kind of a animation again. Well, animation is nothing but a series of images. So you can try to export also not the single video but a series of images. And there are two advantages for this. Now the first one is that you will have then, when you're finished, a series of renderings. Well, these are not renderings, but a series of views that you can have at your disposal to insert in your sheets, or well, you can show it to your client and so on, or to your fellow colleagues or whatever. But the other advantage is that if your computer shuts down, let's say in the middle of the animation, you will always be able to retrieve the other frames and then start all over from where you left off. While if the computer stops during the rendering of a video, well, that's going to be corrupted. It's not going to open it probably, so you will have to start all over again. So this is why I believe that frames or single images are better than a single video. So you can finish your work here in Revit, but you can also then migrate to other software to proceed with animation or more complex animation, like for example, Real Engine or Lumion or V-Ray for SketchUp. If you export in SketchUp, it's going to be lighter, or you can install V-Ray in Revit, but you know that animation it's kind of limited in Revit, so you always need to use more than one software. So if you don't know how to do that, if you don't have any clues, you can write in the comments questions or ask for assistance, or also you can give suggestions for other users. Now let's create our first sheet. So again, we'll be in the View tab, and this is the part concerning sheets. So I will click here, and it's telling me that I need to create a new sheet. Now this one here is the only one that I have right now, but I can click on Load and I can upload more. Now these are in Italian, so I need to go up a little bit, go to English, US, and this is, as usual, a family. So also the sheet is, you will find families for the sheets. So you need to go here in the title blocks, and for example, let's use the A1. Now all of these have different measures basically, so this one is pretty big, and now we can also load more, but I'm gonna use this one here for the moment. Okay, now this is the standard one, and you can see it's already prepared for you. It has here an information part. Now if I want to customize this, as we saw also previously in Revit, we can do it in two levels. So first level, we can go here and just type what, for example, what we want to call it. So this could be our first sheet,